Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Welcome. Welcome, welcome. And this week I had minor but very successful surgery, little carpal tunnel. It's like a minor little nothing, but I'm not supposed to lift anything heavier than a dinner plate, or I'm not supposed to play the guitar for a whole week. So guess what? You are the lucky recipients of the playing of Cody and his mom, Cody Vogelai and Bonnie Vogelai. So we are all very fortunate tonight. And you'll see Cody switching instruments, and anyway, and Bonnie's going to help me sing some. So you really have a lot of helpers tonight. This is going to be wonderful. Okay, so we're going to welcome Shabbat with Hine Matov on page 128 for anyone who needs the words. Just I need a starting note, please. And please join us. Hine matovu manayim shevet hachim gam yachad. Hine matovu manayim shevet hachim gam yachad. Hine matov shevet hachim gam yachad. Hine matov shevet hachim gam yachad. Hine matov umanayim shevet hachim gam yachad. Hine matov umanayim shevet hachim gam yachad. Oh, it's going to be wonderful. And I have to add that Cody is doing this as a mitzvah project. So he is going to become a bar mitzvah in a few short weeks, but he is going to help me throughout the year with religious school music and Shabbat music off and on. So I'm very lucky. So thank you.
Right. Well, the bar mitzvah ceremony is in January 7th. I knew that. While that's the case this year, you're experiencing some of what our religious school has already been experiencing with the utilization of Cody's great talent. Incidentally, this is not his first time up on this bima doing this at all. At this point, you're a pro. We turn to page 120 for Hadlakat Hanarot, Kindling the Lights of Shabbat. Sharon Goldman this week leads us in candle lighting. For those watching on the internet, if you need a prayer book, just surf over to our congregation's website and you'll see the link for Mishkan Tefillah, our prayer book.
Oh, sorry, it's here. But whichever.
And page 120.
O source of light and truth, creator of the eternal law of goodness, help us to find knowledge by which to live. Lead us to take the words we shall speak into our hearts and our lives. Bless all who enter the sanctuary in need, all who bring the offerings of their hearts. May our worship lead us to acts of kindness, peace, and love.
Yeah.
I'm going to help. I'm really good at this.
Oh,
This one, wow. There we go. You know what? It does have
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu l'havit ner shel Shabbat. Blessed are you, Adonai our God, Sovereign of the universe, who hallows us with mitzvot, making us to kindle the light of Shabbat.
Please join with us. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu l'hadlik ner shel Shabbat. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you, Sharon. Happy birthday this week. We bring you up, you light candles, and then it looks like we're giving a fake candle lighter but you're a great sport, so thank you. On page 138 is L'chadodi, page 138. We'll be doing the first, the second, and the ninth verses. Page 138 and then to 139.
Just need to record. Lecha lecha doti, lekrat kala, panei shabbat nikavila. 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 Shamor v'zachor b'dibur echad, Hishmianu el ham yuchad, Adonai echad u'shemo echad, L'shem el tiferet beliti la la la. Lecha lecha doti, lekrat kala, panei shabbat nikavila. Lecha lecha doti, lekrat kala, panei shabbat nikavila. Likrat Shabbat lehuven elcha, ki mekor habracha, merosh mikarem nesrucha, shofna haser b'makshava tehi la la la. Lecha lecha doti, lekrat kala, panei shabbat nikavila. Lecha lecha doti, lekrat kala, panei shabbat nikavila. Boi v'shalom ateret bala, gam b'simcha u'tzohola, tov emunei am sigula. Boi lekrat kala, panei shabbat nikavila. Lecha lecha doti, lekrat kala, panei shabbat nikavila.
Our service now continues on page 144 with the Chatzi Kaddish.
Yitgadav yitgadash me rabba, be'omat divrach yute v'yamlik malchute, b'chayechon uv'yomechon, uv'chaye dekol beit Yisrael, bagala, uv'izman kari, v'himeru, amen. Yehei shemei rabba mevorach, le'olam u'lemei homaya, yitbarach, יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי לקודשה לילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה דמירון בעלמה וימרו Amen.
Page 146, we invite those who are able to rise for the Baruch Hu.
Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed.
Page 149. I ask that we read together in English the second reading down on the page. This is an hour of change. Within it, we stand uncertain on the border of life. Shall we draw back or cross over? Where shall our hearts turn?
Shall we draw back, my brother, my sister, or cross over? This is the hour of change, and within it we stand quietly on the border of light. What lies before us? Shall we draw back, my brother, my sister, or cross over?
Baruch
atah Adonai, Ha'ma'ariv ha'ravim.
Page 151, we read together the second reading on the page.
Wisdom and wonder, passion and instruction, story and symbol. All these things your Torah gives to us, and the more we devote ourselves to it, the more it grows and gives. What could be a truer token of your abiding love than the holiest of your works and the living language that gives us form? Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael.
Page 152.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem, Kevod Malchuto, Le'olam va'ed.
Please be seated. On page 154 is the Ve'ahavta.
Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha v'chol levavecha u'v'chol nafshecha u'v'chol me'otecha ve'hayu הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבבך ושיננתם לבניך ודיברתם בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך, ושוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם להות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך, ובשעריך. למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי הוציאכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
Emet, we turn to page 159. Sing the song of men and women, joined in understanding and respect, the song of God's miracles, an earth protected and cherished, a gift for our children and the generations to come. The song of a land once ravaged by war, now quiet and content, her soldiers home to leave no more. The song of a world redeemed, the song of peace. Mi Chamocha is across the page on page 158.
Ya bum bum bim bim bum, ya ba bum bum bim bum, ya bum bum bim bim bum, ya ba bum bum bim bum, ya da 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 da, ya ba bum bum bim bum, ya da 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 da, ya ba bum bum bim bum. Ma futecha vanecha bo. Ya bum bum bim bim bum, ya bum bim bum, ya bum bum bim bim bum, ya bum bum bim bum, ya da 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 da, ya bum bum bim bum, ya da 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 da, ya bum bum bim bum. Malchutecha rahuvanecha, bokei hayam lifnei Moshe u'Miriam, zeli zeli anu ve'ameru, Adonai imloch le'olam va'ed. Ya bum bum bim bim bum, ya bum bum bim bum, ya bum bum bim bim bum, ya bum bum bim bum, ya da 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 da, ya bum bum bim bum, ya da 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 da, ya bum bum bim bum. I don't realize how much I think with my guitar. It's just like that becomes, anyway, it's. Thank you, guys.
It's sounding great. So page 160 for Hapoi Sukkot Shalom. It's found towards the bottom of the page.
We really didn't have enough rehearsal time. This kind of crept up on me, but anyway, thank you. Baruch atah Adonai haborei sukkot shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael, ve'al Yerushalayim, ve'al kol amo, ve'al Yerushalayim shalom, ve'al Yerushalayim, ve'al kol amo, ve'al Yerushalayim shalom. Baruch atah Adonai haborei sukkot shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael, shalom aleinu ve'al kol
On page 162, Vishamru, our prayer for Shabbat.
Now this version of Vishamru is Craig Taubman's, and it's a favorite among the students in the religious school, and Cody. So, and he's going to jazz it up a little bit. Vishamru b'nei Yisrael et HaShabbat Lasot et HaShabbat L'Doratam Berit Olam Vishamru b'nei Yisrael et HaShabbat Lasot et HaShabbat L'Doratam Berit Olam Beni Uvein B'nei Yisrael Oti Leolam Vishamru B'nei Yisrael Et HaShabbat Lasot et HaShabbat L'Doratam Berit Olam Vishamru b'nei Yisrael Et HaShabbat Lasot et HaShabbat L'Doratam Berit Olam Ki sheshet yamim Asa Adonai Et HaShamayim Be'et Haaretz Vishamru b'nei Yisrael Et HaShabbat Lasot et HaShabbat L'Doratam Berit Olam Vishamru b'nei Yisrael Et HaShabbat Lasot et HaShabbat L'Doratam Berit Olam Uvayom Hashvi Shabbat Vayinafash Shabbat Vayinafash Vishamru b'nei Yisrael Et HaShabbat Lasot et HaShabbat L'Doratam Berit Olam Vishamru b'nei Yisrael Et HaShabbat Lasot et HaShabbat L'Doratam Berit Olam. Thank you. That was great. Someday we'll look back at this night and remember that we knew him when he played on our Shabbat services.
And I couldn't help but thinking, Linda, I think we have an idea for some guitar riffs for our Wisdom Wednesday communications.
Oh, yes, that's right.
Yes,
absolutely.
For sure. Page 164 for the tefillah, we invite those who are able to rise. We chant the prayers on the even-numbered pages, beginning 164, continuing to 170.
Adonai sifata tiftach ufiaki tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Velohei Avotenu ve'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Velohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Velohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor Vahanara El Elyon Gomel Chasadim Tovim V'konei Hakol V'zocher Hastelvot Ve'imahot Umevi Gula Lifnei V'nehem Liman Shemo Be'ahava Melech Kosero Moshiach U'Magen Baruch Atah Adonai Magen Avraham V'ezrat Sarah Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai Mechayei HaKol Atav Rav Lehoshia Mechakel Chaim B'Chesed Mechayei HaKol B'Rachamim Rabim Somek Noflim V'Rofei Cholim Umatir Asurim Umekayem Emunato Lishenei Afar Michamocha Bagivurot Umido Melach Melech Memit Umechaye Umatmi Yeshua V'nehemana Taleh HaChayot HaKol Baruch Atah Adonai Mechayei HaKol.
You are holy, your name is holy, and those who are holy praise you every day. Blessed are you, Adonai, the holy God.
Baruch Atah Adonai Ha'el HaKadosh.
Please be seated. The Mishnah, that ancient text of Jewish law and thought, the Mishnah ends with these words, with this passage. It says, Rabbi Shimon ben Chalafta said, the Holy One of Blessing found no vessel that could contain blessing for Israel, save that of peace. As it is written, Adonai will give strength unto God's people. Adonai will bless God's people with peace. Psalm 29. Shalom, peace, well-being, completeness is the vehicle by which God brings blessing into the world. It is the reason that the last blessing we recite in this section of the service concerns shalom. As part of a distinct people, may we extend peace as its agents and advocates in a world that so desperately lacks it and needs it. We sing Shalom Rav, page 178.
Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Ki atahu melech adon lekol hashalom, lekol hashalom. Ki atahu melech adon lekol hashalom. Shalom Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Tasim Leolam. V'tov b'necha livarech et amecha Yisrael b'chol עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. Shalom Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Yisrael Amcha
prayer, page 180.
Say shalom, bimramav, huya, say shalom, aleinu, ve'akol Yisrael, ve'im imeru amen. Oh, say shalom, bimramav, huya, say shalom, aleinu, ve'akol Yisrael, ve'im imeru amen. Oh, say shalom, bimramav, huya, say shalom, aleinu, ve'akol Yisrael, ve'im amen.
We turn to page 364 for our Torah service. We invite those who are able to rise. We sing Ki Mitzion.
Ki mitzion tetzei Torah, Ki mitzion tetzei Torah, udevar Adonai mirushalayim.
Please be seated. I remain focused on an insight that a friend of mine once commented about the story of Cain and Abel, which is tonight's Torah portion. He observed the irony. He said, you know, Eric, the vegetarian was the first to shed blood. Consider these sketchy, terse details from this first Torah portion in the book of Genesis. Cain and Abel, the two sons of Adam and Eve, resolved to present God with spontaneous offerings. Cain, the farmer, simply submits fruit of the soil. A mincha is what it's called. Now that's the name of the afternoon service. In contrast, Abel, the shepherd, exhibiting a special devotion to God, contributes the choicest of the firstlings of his flock. God is pleased by Abel's deed and pays heed to Abel, leaving Cain distressed and despondent. God advises that Cain can check his evil urge, but a temperamental Cain speaks to his innocent brother and then kills him in a field. As with much of the biblical narrative, this story provides only a few sparse facts, and some things are troubling. Is God playing favorites Why wasn't the mincha good enough? Yet no, brother speaks to brother and things go awry. A close reader will see that the text does not record exactly what was said by the brothers. In such a vacuum, our rabbis conjectured that perhaps greed, perhaps religious differences, or perhaps other rivalries precipitated the killing. They were said to have argued over ownership, over where should be the location of the temple, over potential wives. For instance, this midrash. What Cain said to Abel was, "Come, let us divide the world between us." Abel replied, "Very well." So Cain said, "You take the chattel and I'll take the land." And it was stipulated between them that neither should have any claim against the other about this division. Nevertheless, when Abel proceeded to graze the flock, Cain said, "The land that you're standing on is mine." Abel replied, "The wool that you're wearing is mine." Abel said, "Strip." Cain said, "Jump." And at that, Cain rose up against his brother. That is, Cain proceeded to chase Abel, says the Midrash, from hill to dale and from dale to hill until the two grappled. In the end, we cannot be sure what angry, jealous quarrel provoked so terrible a response. We only know how quickly Cain's act of piety, his offering to God the fruit of the land, degenerated into bloodshed. Note well, cautions the Torah, the first recorded death stems not from natural causes, but by human hands. So begins a pattern that has been repeated with unnerving frequency as we follow the latest news of Russia's monstrous invasion of Ukraine or Iran's crackdown on its citizenry. When God inquires of Cain about Abel, and Cain responds, "Am I my brother's keeper?" But this question doesn't really dignify a direct response, and God does not directly answer Cain, lest God give credibility to Cain's excuses and his evasions. Instead, God castigates Cain. He says, "What have you done? Hark, the voice of your brother's bloods cries out to me from the ground." God thus throws responsibility for his behavior back to Cain, and by extension to all of humanity. And the Hebrew Demeh, bloods, indicates that it wasn't just Abel who perished, but those who would descend from him too. And nearly 8 decades after the Shoah, and our own Jewish demographics have yet to catch up with the pre-World War II Jewish population. In rabbinic times, like now, Jews have wondered, where was God in the middle of all of this? In the Midrash, commenting on that verse, "The voice of thy brother's bloods cries out against me from the ground," Rabbi Simeon ben Yochai said, "This verse is all but intolerable to recite and impossible to explain. For it seems to regard Cain and Abel as two gladiators wrestling in the king's presence in an arena where, if the king desires it, he may separate them. Or if he does not desire to separate them, and one gladiator prevails over the other and is about to kill him, the other may cry out, 'Who will intercede with me with the king?' Therefore God said, 'Since I, the king, did not interfere between Cain and Abel, the voice of thy brother's bloods cries out against me from the ground.'" Rabbi Shimon's underlying message, God could have stopped the killing, just as an emperor could stop a gladiator match, but opted not to. As we continue to be troubled by God's silence in the Shoah, yet this reality underscores humanity's free will to make choices, whether to be sympathetic or indifferent, whether to be active or passive. We must never forget the fate of the victims. That's why God then chastises Cain, for Cain was his neighbor, albeit an inept and cruel one. In a world of choices and free will, what we do and what happens to others is our concern. Each of us, whatever our own dietary proclivities, are our brothers and sisters' keepers. As this remarkable and remarkably relevant text underscores. Now we're going to be reading from the beginning of Genesis 4. In the Torah commentaries, it's on page 44. So I just had to type 4 a lot in the computer to get everything ready for you. Dan, can we invite you forward for the Aliyah to the Torah? Here we are. Right here.
Baruch Adonai Hamvorach.
Baruch Adonai Hamvorach ve'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamvorach ve'olam va'ed. Baruch Ata Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam, asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim, v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch Ata Adonai noten ha'torah.
Amen. Amen. V'hadam yada et Chava ishto, and Adam, the man, knew Chava, his wife, v'taher, and she conceived, v'teled et Cain, and she bore Cain. V'tomer kaniti et ish et Adonai, and she said, I have acquired a person with the help of God. V'tosef laledet, and she continued to give birth. In other words, we have twins here. Et Achiv, his brother, et Havel, of Abel. Hevel or Abel, that's when you see your breath on a cold day. That's what this word is. That's his name. But he, Hevel, roet son, and Abel was a shepherd. V'Kain haya oved adamah, and Cain was a farmer. V'hi miketz yamim, v'yaveh Cain mi pri ha'adamah, and it was for the course of time that Cain brought the fruits of the soil, mincha l'Adonai, mincha for an offering for Adonai. The Hevel hevi gamhu mi buchorot sono umechelvatam. And Abel also brought the first choicest of the flock. V'yisha Adonai el Hevel ve'el minchato, and God favored Abel and his offering, ve'el Cain ve'el minchato lo sha'a, but not Cain and his offering. V'yichar l'Cain ma'od, and Cain was greatly distressed, v'yiblu panav, and his face fell. Vayomer Adonai el Cain, and Adonai said to Cain, Lama chara lach, why are you so distressed? Lama naflu fanecha, why has your face fallen? Halo im hetiv tetiv se'et ve'im lo tetiv lepetach chatat rovetz elecha tushakato ve'ata tishmol bo. And if you do good, there is uplift, but if not, sin couches at the door, but you can master it. Vayomer Cain el Hevel echav, and Cain said to his brother Abel, Vayihi b'heyotam b'sadeh, while they were out in the field, Vayakom Cain el Hevel, and Cain arose over Abel, echav, his brother, v'hargehu, and he killed him. Vayomer Adonai el Cain, and Adonai said to Cain, Ai Hevel achicha, where is Abel your brother? Vayomer lo yadati, and he said, I don't know. Ha shomer achi anochi, am I my brother's keeper? Vayomer ma asita, and this is God speaking, and God said, what have you done? Kol demei ahecha, the voice of your brother's bloods. So Akim Eli min ha'adamah, cries out to me from the earth, from the ground. Ve'ata arur ata min ha'adamah, now you will be more accursed than the earth. Asher patzta et piha l'chachat et demei achicha miyadecha, that swallowed up into its mouth the the blood of your brother from your hand. Kita avor et adama lo tosef tet. If you farm upon the land, you work the land, it will not bear its strength. Lach, for you, na v'nad tehiyah ba'aretz. You shall be a wanderer on the earth.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torat emet, v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Thank you.
Now I know.
Well, for those who are able, let's have you rise. And Charlene, can we invite you forward to address our Torah? V'zot HaTorah, page
V'zot
370.
HaTorah asher sam Moshe lifnei b'nei Yisrael al pi Adonai v'yad Moshe. La 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 la. La 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 la.
Page 374 for Eitz Chaim. Torah is a tree of life.
Eitz Chaim hi lemachazikim ba v'tom hecha meushar derachea darchei noam v'kol netivoteha shalom hashivenu Adonai elecha v'nashuva Kodesh Kodesh Yamenu Kodesh Yamenu Kekedem.
Please be seated. Thank you.
Yes. Give it tomorrow.
As we offer the blessing for healing this Shabbat, we are mindful of Sylvia Albert, Phil Feynman, Kelly Lynn Hickey, Yvette Mickenberg, David Rubinski, Ross Schoonmaker, Reverend Ken Frazier, Pat Mariani, Arnold and Lynn Wilk, and Tim Lucid. There are those for whom we pray privately, including people over the world fighting COVID-19. For those in our sanctuary, please share aloud the names of people for whom we likewise publicly pray this Shabbat.
Steve Epstein and James Rochelle. Stanley White and Al Lloyd.
And for those on Zoom, we ask you to unmute and say aloud the names of those for whom we pray publicly this Shabbat. For all, may the Holy One send healing and shelter in protection. Our prayer, Mishaberach, page 371.
Mishaberach avot
strength, who bless the ones before us. Help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Mi shepera imotenu, mi kor habracha lahavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shalema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
Now, Cody comes from a music-loving background, but I'm not sure if all of our youth or all of the people who you know would know what actually a broken record is in this digital age. A broken record, damaged vinyl that would continually repeat the same segment. Perhaps when a computer continuously sends out spam, might be a way of saying it nowadays. Yet should any of us need an example of a broken record, it might be the host of sermons I've delivered here over the years. I've contended that as an Am Olam, as an eternal people with a Brit Olam, with an everlasting covenant, a relationship with God, it behooves us to take long views and to know our history. In so doing, I've continually warned of the danger when clear public statements of hatred are unchallenged and thus become increasingly normalized. Yet that's precisely what's been happening in America with increasing frequency. The current situation concerns Ye, formerly Kanye West, the celebrity entrepreneur. Last week, he texted his 31 million Twitter followers his vow to, quote, go DEFCON 3 on the Jewish people. He continued, you guys have toyed with me and tried to blackball anyone who ever opposes your agenda, end quote. Predictably, many minimized Ye's hate speech and that call for violence, with some conservative commentators even defending him. Others, including a former president, explained he would not weigh in given Ye's previous support of him. But notably, some have condemned the remarks as beyond the pale. And today, the luxury fashion house Balenciaga severed its ties to Ye. Earlier this week, the ADL asked another major brand, Adidas, to do just that. At present, Adidas intends to release new products in the Yeezy line on October 27th, which the league sees as adding insult to injury, as that's the anniversary of the attack on the Tree of Life Synagogue in Pittsburgh, the most violent anti-Semitic massacre in American history. Adidas has not yet made its public response. In the letter to Adidas, the ADL makes the point that if the brand indeed supports inclusion and diversity, it can't be passive now, declaiming other types of hatred, but not anti-Semitism. So here we are, back in an increasingly familiar place and hearing quite recognizable concerns. Ultimately, all of this underscores the importance of our Jewish community as a defender against hate and the need for alliances and outreach beyond. Indeed, through upcoming local efforts, as our congregation will participate as a pilot congregation with the ADL this year in a new grassroots effort to combat anti-Semitism called Kulanu, all of us. May we help to change the dynamic so I sound less like a broken record. As part of an ancient and ongoing people, we know that while offering warnings, history need not be repeated. May we instead shape efforts that won't be discarded as readily as spam. Ken Yehi Ratzon, be this God's will. Our service now continues, page 586. We invite those who are able to rise for the Aleinu. The Aleinu that we'll be chanting is the second paragraph down on the page 586.
Aleinu l'shabeach la'adon hakol, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הברצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגר עלינו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא.
Please be seated. Vinet Amar, page 591.
ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד.
Page 598. At this moment in our service, we now call to mind our own beloved dead. We pray on their behalf. We voice the confidence that they are remembered for blessing. I ask that those in mourning or remembering the anniversary of the death of a loved one to please rise if you are able. If you're joining us on Zoom and are able, we invite you as well to rise when their name is mentioned. During Shloshim, remember Audrey Walzer, mother of Roy, Larry Engelman, husband of Deja, father of Jacob, Michael Curtis, brother-in-law of Jonathan Kapstein. Remember the yahrzeits, the anniversaries of the deaths of Donald Cohan, Clara Eisenberg, Sonia Frankel, Harry Goldberg, Albert Kowiek, Alvin Krakow, Estelle Neidick, Nettie Pashkis, Diane Schwedick, Sidney L. Silverman, Michael Sochin, Nancy H. Stammelman, Julia Stein, and Max R. Trarig. We ask our worshipers in our sanctuary, should you have a dear one to add, to please rise and say their name now. We ask our online worshipers on Zoom to unmute and say the name of their loved one. For those in our sanctuary, should you wish, we invite you to offer a short remembrance of a dear one on our Kaddish list. Please signal for the microphone.
My dad, Al Koik, died at the age of 99 and a half, lived a very full life, and what I remember most about him, and I cherish, was I once went through his City College yearbook, and the quote was given under his name, "Got a question, Al?" Evidently, he questioned everything. Whenever I asked him something, he would say, "Do you know the answer? If not, look it up." So my quest for research came from my father, and he lived a long and full life.
Thank you. We remember the dead associated with the pandemic, the Ukrainian victims of Russia's invasion, and the 2 Bristol police officers slain in the ambush. Each Shabbat, we also mention 6 names amongst the 6 million murdered in the Holocaust, the Shoah. This week, we remember David Weizmann, Mikhail Markovsky, Yaakov Tannenbaum, Shlomo Tannenbaum, Chaim Tannenbaum, and Jacob Rubin. In remembrance and solidarity, and on behalf of those for whom there is no one but us to say Kaddish, we now invite all present to rise. If you are able, our Kaddish prayer, page 598. Yitgadal v'yitgadash Shemei Rabbah, B'alma divrach yuruteh v'amlich malchuteh, B'chayechon uvyomechon uv'chaye d'chol Beit Yisrael, Ba'agala v'zman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei Shemei Rabbah mevarach le'olam lamei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal Shemei Dekudesha b'richu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata. Tush b'chata v'nechamata. Damiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehei Shlama Rabbah min Shemaya, V'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru amen. Zichronan levracha, may their memories be for blessing, and let us say amen. Please be seated. Stephen Reps is the president of B'nai Israel.
Okay, nice to see everyone here in the sanctuary and online. Thank you, Rabbi and Linda, for a wonderful service, and Sharon and Dan and Charlene for your participation, and Paul Medina for being our Tech Corps volunteer, and a big thanks to the Vogelim, which I take is plural for Vogeli, Bonnie and Cody for just a wonderful, wonderful music. What a treat it was to have them play with us. The Partridge Family really ain't got nothing on them. And Bonnie, later you can explain that reference to Cody, what that really means. Please join us for an oneg after the Kiddush and the Motzi. For those on Zoom, the rabbi will first be in the social hall after services. He will log on around 8:50 or so to say hello to those online. Tomorrow morning, Torah study in person in the multi-purpose room and on Zoom. Ask the rabbi, should you need the code. Sunday morning, B'nai Israel Religious School, including 7th grade parents, meeting and at 10:45 in the rabbi's introduction to Judaism in the library. Tuesday, rabbi's discussion group at 11 a.m. in person and online. Contact the rabbi. Wednesday, Sisterhood game day here at noon. Contact the Sisterhood if you'd like to participate. And the next Friday night, Friendship Shabbat, beginning at 6 p.m. with a potluck dinner. And services at 7:30. Please RSVP to the office if you'd like to bring something to the potluck dinner. I think you have, based on your last name, you bring either a dessert or an entree or a beverage. And check online for that information. Great to see everyone, and Shabbat Shalom.
Thank you. our closing hymn, which will then be followed by Kiddush and Motzi. The closing hymn is Adon Olam, page 625.
Ready? 1, 2. Oh, I gotta hear the first chord though. 1, 2, 3. Adon Olam, Asher Malach, B'terem Kol Yitzir Nivra, Li'et Nasav, V'chefzacho, Asar Malach Shemo Nivra, Adon Olam, V'yacharei Yitmok HaKol, Livado Yimok Norach Adon Olam, V'hu Haya, V'hu Ofer, V'hu Yiyeh V'tifara, Adon Olam, Adon Olam, Asher Malach, B'terem Kol, Yitzir Nivra, Li'et Nasav, V'chefzacho, Asar Malach Shemo Nivra, Adon Olam, V'hu Echad Ve'en Sheni, L'am Shelo L'ha'chbira, Adon Olam, Ve'li Reshit, Ve'li Tachlit, Ve'lo Ha'oz Ve'ha'chesed, Adon Olam, Adon Olam, Asher Malach, B'terem Kol, Yitzir Nivra, Li'et Nasav, Asar Malach Shemo Nivra, Adon Olam, Ve'hu Eli, V'chai Goli, V'zor Gavli, V'etzorah, Adon Olam, Ve'hu Nisi, U'manosli, Menat Kosi, Ve'olam, Adon Olam, Adon Olam, Asher Malach, B'terem Kol, Yitzir Nivra, Li'et Nasav, V'chefzacho, Asar Malach Shemo Nivra, Adon Olam, Ve'yado Wakid Ruhi, Ve'eiti Sham Yavira, Adon Olam, Ve'im Ruhi, K'viyati, Adon Ali, Ve'olam, Adon Olam, Adon Olam, Asher Malach, B'terem Kol, Yitzir Nivra, Li'et Nasav, V'chefzacho, Asar Malach Shemo Nivra, Adon Olam. Woo-hoo! Great job.
Kiddush is on page 123. One is wine and one is juice. Which one is which?
Anybody's good.
Darker is juice, okay.
Well,
So that's for you, Cody.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav, v'ratzah banu. V'shabbat kodsho be'ahava uvratzon hihilanu, zikaron b'ma'aseh bereshit, ki hu yom tehillah limikraye kodesh, zecher letziat Mitzrayim, ki banu V'yatanu kidashta mikol ha'amim, b'shabbat kodshecha be'ahava uvratzon hikaltanu. Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh HaShabbat. Amen. L'chaim. L'chaim. Did you get juice?
No.
Oh, that's what you said.
You bet.
Elohim Rabbeinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. Shabbat shalom. Thank you.